All right, I'll tell you two stories now. Someone asked me a question now about pain. If people are in pain, what should they do? So, I mean, I don't have an answer, because I can't explain somebody's pain. But I can explain a little bit of something because, first of all, we know that everything that happens is because God wants it to happen. And everything that's happening is happening for the good. Like Nachum Ish Gamzu said, we just learned that. Gamzu Latova. And sometimes just by seeing that improves the situation. So I'll tell you a story, two stories. First story, number one. Maybe I'll even stop the stories so that it'll be separate. Story number one. There was a Chassid of the Baal Shem Tov that had a bad wife. What do you mean a bad wife? She screamed at him all the time. She screamed at him. She embarrassed him. She cursed him, cursed his family, his mother in front of him, shamed him in front of everyone. And she refused to cook for him and to do anything for him whatsoever. No matter what he did, he was wrong. So he went to Baal Shem Tov. He said, listen, I want to get divorced. So the Baal Shem Tov said, stick with it. It'll be okay. And it wasn't okay. It just got worse. She invented new curses for him and new ways to shame him and new this. So he went to the Baal Shem Tov. He said, I want a divorce. The Baal Shem Tov says, stick with it. Anyway, this went on for a while until finally he went to the Baal Shem Tov and he said, listen, Baal Shem Tov, I don't care what you say. My life is not a life. I can't continue this way. I'm going crazy. She doesn't let me learn. She doesn't let me pray. She doesn't let me do anything. I have to run and hide myself in some place in order just to pray with us. She comes running into the synagogue in front of everybody, screams at me. I can't take it anymore again. The screaming, the yelling. So the Baal Shem Tov said, okay, listen, if that's what you want, then okay. But on one condition. I want you to go to this certain town, not far from us, and look for a certain person. Ask around for a certain person. And he gave him the name of this person, and I'll make up a name because it didn't say the name of the person. So you look at the Shmerel Groisboich. Ask who this person was. You are an incarnation of that person. So he said, okay, he doesn't understand what connection between one is, but if he can get divorced from his wife, he'll do anything. He'll stand on his head. He'll do anything. So he goes to the town. And he starts asking people. Anybody know Shmerel Groisboich? Nobody knows who he is. Maybe that old man over there knows. He goes to the old man. Excuse me, do you know Shmerel Groisboich? The old man says, what? Shmerel Groisboich. Shmerel Groisboich. Yamach Shamo. He should burn in hell forever. He's that evil person, may be cursed. Man, what happened? Who is this? Shmerel Groisboich, what are you looking for him for? He used to kidnap children. He used to steal money. He used to give people over to the government. He was an evil man. He made so much trouble. Who knows how many people lost their lives, lost their health, lost that because of him. Maybe he said, why are you looking for him? So he said, the Baal Shem Tov told me that I am an incarnation of him. So this old man, he had long eyebrows. He has long eyebrows. And he was like almost blind. He was like 115 years old. And he looks up, he puts his eyebrows like this. He said, I don't believe it. He said, if I only lived just for this moment to see that Groisboich is a pupil of the Baal Shem Tov, said it was worth it to live up to now just to see. So he goes back home. This fellow goes back home, goes into his house, yells out to his wife, Sarah, start screaming. He realized that his life was a correction for the bad things that his soul had done in the previous incarnation. Story number one. And now I'll stop this. Maybe that'll be the story for today. That's today's story. I'll leave the other story for next time. That's today's story. Now I'll tell you a Yom Yom. But what we can learn from the story is that not only is God hidden from us, but the workings of the world are hidden from us, and everything happens with what's called Heshgacha Pratit. In other words, God directs everything is happening for a purpose. Okay, this doesn't explain away somebody's pain. I mean, if I was a big tzaddik or something, I could say do X or Y, and you could do it. But one thing for sure, thinking properly does away with a lot of the pain. Connecting it to God, and also, I mean, a person can get addicted to pain. He starts to like it. It becomes part of his, how do you say, daily schedule. There is such a thing in the world which is called hypochondriac. In Yiddish, they say an eingerittenisches Ärger from a crank. A self, an imaginary disease is worse than a real disease. And what does it mean? A real disease, you go to a doctor or somebody and it get healed. An imaginary disease, he brings it on himself. So I'm not saying that the disease is brought on by oneself, but the exaggeration of it and the anticipation of it and the anxiety which it brings is sometimes worse than the disease itself. People get addicted to, now that's this thing of big pharma, in the world. People get addicted to painkillers and that they can't go to sleep, so that they get sleeping pills, and then they can't wake up, so they take energy pills, and then they take this, and people get addicted to pills. And if they would just trust in God a little bit more, then life would be a little bit less tense and a little bit more objective and not so subjective that they're trapped inside of themselves. And that's this whole story. The Baal Shem Tov took this man out of his pain by explaining it, why it was. So did that help? Maybe. Let's go now and learn the Yom Yom.